white earring.
Oh, the new rage, you know.
Well, like a mask, yeah.
Darren, we are live on YouTube and recording. You're welcome to start.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a committee meeting, an admin and comp meeting on Thursday, February 4th. In the meeting are myself, Rob Jameson, Amber is in the meeting, Angie DiBernardo, the mayor, Bill Tomko, Aaron Grube, Harry Edwards, and Nancy Rogoff. So I had a call with Rob a couple of weeks ago just to discuss some salary changes and some position changes. And I thought that there was enough information between Rob and I that we should share it with the committee. We'd like to take this in front of council on Monday. So let's just do a little dive. And Rob, you're sharing your screen, so I might as well turn the mic over to you also.
All right, thank you, Darren.
Sure.
Okay, there's three positions that we'll be discussing today that I brought to the committee's attention in looking at and planning for this upcoming year. We have several upcoming retirements in the coming years, and those positions require us to bring some people up to speed to start training for succession planning to eventually replace the positions where we have retirements coming. So we have two of those positions we'll be describing. And then we have one item that is a request from the police department to reclassify a position in their department. So on the agenda, the first item is the assistant utilities superintendent position. I have the salary schedule up on the screen right now, and in red, and where my cursor shows is where that position would be placed in the schedule. Years ago, we had a full-time regular assistant superintendent of utilities. Ben Himes was in that position prior to coming up to Village Hall as chief administrator. Glenn Elliott, our current superintendent of utilities, was the assistant prior to becoming superintendent. At one point, I'm not sure the exact year, this position was taken out of the village employment, and the duties split amongst the foreman in the department, as well as the superintendent taking on more work. And we operate that on a normal basis. The current superintendent is looking at retiring possibly in the spring of 2023, if not a little later. And after discussion with myself and the mayor, we feel that we want to have a good overlap to learn the complexity of the administrative side of the superintendent's position for both our water and sanitary sewer operations. Also, the wastewater treatment plant is going to be starting the renovation process here in the spring, and we'd like to have someone on board, as there will be a lot more additional administrative and oversight work associated with that project. And it would be good to have someone coming up to speed with the changes at the plant, as well as keep the regular operations in the village rolling. When we looked at the pay rate of 27, that pay grade is what the position was formerly, according to the utility superintendent. And we feel that that's an acceptable rate given the comparison to the superintendent and the foreman. It's right in the middle of the other rates above and below it. Our plan with this position is to look within the department first to fill this position. We feel that we have some candidates that would be acceptable and that have shown possible interest. We'll be coming up with a job description here in the near future, and we wouldn't be posting this until a little bit later in the spring, with hopefully having someone in position by June, mid-year this year. Looking at our current rates of our operators in our department, if one of these senior operators was to move into this role, it would be an overall additional cost of $11,523 per year. This year it would be half that, because we're looking to about a 6-month time period where that position would be filled. So about $5,700. We are not looking to add any additional staff to the department. So if this person moved into this job, they would still be performing work in the field They would just take on a little bit more administrative responsibility and oversight and add it to their normal workload. So the impact to the utilities budgets will be minimal, and we'll be really starting to plan ahead for the future for those departments. Anybody have any questions?
This is just a question just on how the advancement works with the pay. I know you gave the 11,000 figure. So if somebody's at step E, do they go to step E on the new level?
No, we look at where they're at their current rate, and then where that compares in that set salary grade of 27.
Right.
I believe if we looked at a senior operator at grade 22E,
Okay.
we were proposing a starting rate of around 27C, or right in the middle of that grade.
Okay.
Because obviously that grade is lower than superintendent, and they'd still have some room to grow
Right.
within the several year period we have to show that they.
And so you place them on the scale, you place them on the scale in the 27 range. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is Darren. Is that an appropriate amount of time to have an assistant learning, under Glenn? Does Glenn feel like that, whatever that winds up being, year and a half in training, is that enough time for this person to take on Glenn's role? I'm assuming that's the plan.
That is the plan, and it is. We have it could be upwards of 2 years, or even a tad longer, depending on exactly when Glenn would retire. But we feel that you have quite a bit of EPA regulations that are increasing. We have a lot more we're getting involved in with EPA regs for both our water and sewer operations. We're doing a lot with our water well flow testing and performance reports, things like that. So there is a lot of the employees are involved in data collection right now, and some of them are involved in the reporting process. This is just taking it to the next level and getting them more involved in the big picture of the operation of those utilities, bringing them to meetings, getting more involved in the engineering side, things like that.
Yeah, we feel it's adequate, Darren. He's also got to get some more certifications.
That was my next
He's
question.
got the time to do that, so we
Great.
think it's adequate. And if it's not, I mean, he obviously can't fill the position of superintendent, and
And you go outside to hire. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And presuming that it works out fine, we just backfill his position when he moves in there.
Right. That's
Any
the plan.
vacancies we would fill. Yes.
Okay.
So if they end up not being appropriate for the superintendent position when Glenn retires, or even if they are appropriate, does this mean we would not do an outside posting for like a general public job posting for Glenn's job when that opens?
Correct. That would be my intention.
I guess the one thing that makes me uncomfortable is that if we're going to hire from within on this and then we're not going to post Glenn's job, are we doing the right thing by not having either of those jobs publicly posted?
Well, I think, Aaron, we've got 2 years to evaluate his performance in this, and I wouldn't want to commit to what we were going to do in 2 years. If he was meeting all the requirements and the reviews were fine and he got all of his certifications, then I'd feel quite comfortable going out and promoting him. However, if those weren't all stellar reviews in the next year and a half, 2 years, then for sure we'd probably want to go out. We'd have another problem to deal with. But these positions that we're talking about with utility superintendents and then later with building inspector are, for some unknown reason, very, very hard positions to fill, and very costly positions to fill. So we're not going to make any commitments as to what we're going to do or not do in 2 years. We're just going to keep an open mind and evaluate it along the process. And I really wouldn't care a great deal if we posted a thing now, but I don't really think it's necessary. We have 2 candidates that appear to have the tools, the innate intelligence, and the desire and motivation to succeed, and I think we're okay.
Where did we find?
Yeah, I mean, my issue isn't with the anyone we may have. Like, I'm not. That's not what it's at. It's about committing future mayors and councils to a
Oh, we're not
decision.
committing
That's
anybody.
that's
We're
the
not,
thing I want to make sure we're
yeah,
leaving
we're
open in this
not making,
process.
we're not making them an absolute promise that somebody has to break in the future. I think all of these positions are, you're getting a shot at it, and we're gonna see, if you perform, and you'll have the inside track for it if that was the case. I mean, there's no promises being made.
I assume that as we go along with these two internal candidates, whoever winds up taking this job, that they'll get a regular review, because every month.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Every month we have them on board. If they're not our guy, it's just would be good to.
Well, I think you're gonna know long before 2 years if you've made a mistake or not.
Right.
Right.
That's really what you're saying, and we agree.
We're already a good, we all already know what our current employees are bringing to the table and their capabilities. So when we post this internally and we see who is interested, we interview those individuals, and we'll be reviewing that to decide who would even move into this role. And then we'll make it very clear what the expectations are and provide, regular feedback as we move along.
Does anyone remember where we found Glenn or how we found Glenn?
Glenn started
in
when he was very
in
young
the
in
department.
1982.
And his
Got it.
father was the service director, John Brockway's.
Bill, that's right. Yeah.
So it's sort of been a family business.
Got it.
Come on,
Okay.
you were summer help, Darren, weren't you?
Yeah. I remember. I remember Glenn's dad. I think his name was Bill. Right? Is that right?
Well,
Yeah.
Yes,
Woo,
it
he was
was.
tough. He was tough, or maybe I was just a terrible worker.
Flashback,
Both. Okay.
I would
flashback.
just like to add something.
Hi, Jan.
I would prefer to promote within if they are qualified, because Chagrin is a little different, and I think people expect more here. And they already know that.
I think that's doubly in spades for the building inspector, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because
I
that
would
position,
agree.
that position interfaces almost daily with the residents. And if you have somebody in there with a my way or a highway attitude, we're going to be in big trouble fast.
Right, and I think the reason that the positions for the utilities department are hard to find is we have to remember not every village has their own. Water
treatment
there.
plant, yeah, right.
Got it. Okay. Let's keep moving, Rob. Thanks.
Okay. The second position is the temporary classification of assistant building inspector that we would like to add to the role. This would be a position that would start in April of this year and continue until April of next year upon retirement of Harry Edwards, who's planning to leave at that point. Remember, we recently spoke and approved changing the training classifications for the assistant building inspector to make them more fall in line with current requirements. And then this is the second step of that process. So we looked at setting the pay grade one grade below the current inspector, as they would be an assistant, kind of an apprentice type mindset in training and learning the inspection, the meetings, the codes involved with both local code and the ICC building code that the village has adopted, and handling contractor inspections and management out in the field, and permitting all of that technology that goes along with that as well. I do have a job description for the building and zoning inspector. If you give me 1 second here, I'll bring it up on the screen, and the mayor finished this today. If anybody would like this, I believe it was sent out, but we can send it out again if you like. So this is the overall inspector's job. The only difference with the assistant would they'd be pretty much learning the same items and doing the same work, other than that they would be right under the current building and zoning inspector. We're looking at that impact to the budget at that pay rate to be roughly $55,000 for the 9 months out of this year. That job would be posted both internally and on the outside as well. And then we would go through the interview process from there. Does anybody have any questions about the assistant building and zoning inspector?
I feel
Yeah.
like we've talked about this one quite a bit, and the need to get someone training under Harry is imperative, if not
Yeah.
not required. So
Yeah.
I think which is a little bit different than a lot of the others is there's a lot of semi-legal work involved in Harry's position. Because
Yeah.
we're very hypersensitive about historic preservation, architectural conformity. We've gone through and spent a hell of a lot of money revising the zoning code to make sure it's current. And I think every one of us and all the residents in the community really want to see it followed. So there's a lot of learning in addition to just knowing what boxes to check on a building form. I think you agree with that, don't you, Harry? Harry.
Harry.
I gotta unmute myself.
There you go.
I
He's
don't
learning
know.
how to
Yes,
do
I-
it. Yeah. All the Zoom learning. Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, I do agree with you. There's a lot that goes into this position. I'm dealing with residents every day. Everybody's got problems or questions, and you got to know how to interact with them. So, yes, I agree with you.
Very involved position.
okay,
I would presume that Harry will be available to help
Yeah,
even after he
we're
retires.
planning to doing the same deal with Harry when he retires. We did with Ben, that he's available to consult with us. Because
Okay.
there's
Good.
an awful lot that's just in Harry's head that's going to walk out the door, and we want to be able to access that.
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad
Not
to
what I
hear
heard.
that.
That's correct. I would not leave you folks,
Encyclopedia.
I would not leave the residents high and dry.
Thank you, dear.
I noticed you specified the residents. You wouldn't leave the residents high and
I
dry.
work for the residents.
Some
The
of them
best of
probably
us.
wouldn't mind.
Angie, that's a key point, because a lot of what Harry does
Yeah.
and what eats up a lot of his time is he has to walk the residents through
He
the
does.
process.
Right.
It's just not, here's our form, see ya. He tells them what they have to do, helps them so they, if you do it this way, you could probably approve it. So there's an
Sure.
awful lot of
Right.
friendly hand-holding associated with the job, and that's what I was getting to.
I know. And I know that we are often told to refer people to Harry. So he's definitely also serving as kind of our information hotline for a lot of residents. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And he's very good at what he does.
he is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the final item,
Please.
if everyone's ready for that, is the change of the police lieutenant's pay grade from grade 29 to grade 30. Chief Dasek had approached Mayor Tomko and myself with justification for why she feels the increased responsibilities of the position require a change in compensation. That change in pay grade would result in about a $5,075 impact to the annual budget. So I did distribute to all of council the memo that she provided on justification for this raise request. And Chief Dasek is here if you want to ask her any questions, or myself, we'd be happy to discuss that further.
I thought the memo you sent, Chief, was incredibly detailed and thorough, and I appreciate that level of information for us.
Thank you. I think just to, I guess, sum it up, the part that really sticks out to me is right there under the background, in that the lieutenant's position is more closely aligned to my position. I mean, in all reality, and not to put it this way, but I can't think of a better way to say it. If I got hit by a bus today, the lieutenant can and should be able to step in and take over my role until you guys figure out what you're going to do. And he could. So, to have it, again, I realize we're talking one step and $5,000, but it should be more closely aligned with my salary than with the sergeant's salary. I mean, he does what they do and what I do. So he's doing basically all three jobs, because that expectation is there, to still go out and patrol, to still show up on calls, to make sure those guys are doing what they're supposed to do, and then come back into the office and be able to do what I'm supposed to do, if I need him to, or if something happens to me. So I think it makes sense for it to be bumped up to that next level.
I second everything Amber said. The department works flawlessly. If Amber's on vacation or if she's here, the two of them have done a superb job of running our police department, and this year under very trying circumstances. And I second everything she said.
I'm in agreement as well. I think that it sounds like it might have been an oversight that this was aligned to the sergeant's role instead of to the chief's role. I didn't realize that that was the case, and obviously he is doing the second in command job all the time. You know, so I think it's well deserved.
There was some, because it used to be a captain's position, that played some role in how that came about.
Mhm.
But just because it was renamed as lieutenant, the job responsibilities did not change. And as I've said to the mayor, I think if anything, it's intensified in the last couple of years, the expectations on the police department to be professional and come up to certain standards and all of that. So.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
again, they're working with the public for the most part. And, I just think they've done a superb job.
Absolutely.
I would also like to add that under the present circumstances of today's climate regarding police officers, that we want to support ours as much as we can.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, I think those are the three items we wanted to talk about, and Rob wanted to present. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and we would like to bring this thing to council on Monday. Is there any reason that we shouldn't? Should we go back and do more work, or are we kind of ready to present this to the group?
Would this be presented as just a salary schedule change or position?
No.
Would this be multiple pieces of legislation or a single?
No,
piece?
one piece of legislation with the changes to the salary schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to motion that we recommend these changes be proposed to council and legislation on Monday's meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, so then we will put this in front of council on Monday.
Vote.
Sorry, what happened?
Voting.
Oh,
We have
I'm
to vote.
sorry. Yeah, let's vote on that. Yeah. All right.
Derek?
Yeah. We voting now? I would say aye for me. Yeah.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Jan.
There we go.
There's that small thing, the
Small
votes,
little
right?
tidbit.
That little
Things go
piece
so
of-
much more smoothly if you never vote.
All right, so the vote is in, the ground has been covered. We'll talk about it on Monday. Thanks, Rob and Mayor Tomko and Amber and Harry for being
Yes.
prepared and putting all this material together.
Thank you very much, Rob. Also, wonderful presentation of all the material. Thank you for doing that. It's
Thank
great.
I
Okay.
appreciate it as
Thank you
well.
for your support,
Oh,
Thank you all
thank
for
you.
your-
Thank you for all
regardless
you
of how it shakes out. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I guess with that, we'll bring this meeting to a close at 4:25.
Very nice.
Good day, everyone. See you tonight. Okay.
See you